You ready?
Yeah.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Jay. This is Unplayable, and me and Andrew are back to make some more top 10 lists of board games. Now, last time we made this, it took us 9 months to edit and
Hey, you
post.
should say the date again so everyone can know.
Yeah, what is today's date? August, I don't even know.
22nd?
22nd, 2025.
Yep.
And today, we are going to be doing our top 10 dungeon crawler games.
Yeah.
This is like one of your favorite genres.
This is one of my favorite genres. And you know what's funny? Because I said this would be an easy one. And then when I actually got to making the list, I was like, actually, this isn't so easy. So I actually had to expand my horizons of what I considered dungeon crawler for this one.
Really?
In my own opinion, yes. Because in my opinion, I don't really consider these dungeon crawlers, but that's just because I usually generally look at the fantasy vibe of things. But realistically, I guess these would really be in the same spirit and vein of it.
That's interesting because I felt like it'd be easy for you because I can name like 4 dungeon crawlers off the top of my head that you've played and I haven't played.
That's true. That's probably absolutely true.
I was only able to pick from so many.
When I expanded my list, it actually grew and I ended up with like a list of like 17 things, and I had to reorder them and figure them in. Which
I
order
like
wanted
a
them.
lot of these games though.
Yeah, same here.
All right. So before we start, did you order it in any particular way? Is it just straight up number one's your favorite out of all of these, or did you order it in like how dungeon crawly it feels?
I didn't number it in terms of that way. I just numbered it in terms of how much I like it in comparison to the others on the list, if that makes sense. Because if you were to say like, which one I think is a better game, then it might change a little bit in some cases, but it's more so what I actually like versus what I think is just better.
I mix it up a little bit. I have them ranked as the order, or in some cases, one beat the other based on how much I liked it, but in some cases, one beat the other because it felt more dungeon crawly than the other did.
Well, that can make sense too. I mean, that could work.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started with our number 10s. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start it all. All right, so my number 10 is going to be Tiny Epic Dungeons.
Okay.
Look at that. Dungeons right in the name. I actually really like this game because of all the Tiny Epic series, it's probably my favorite of them. It's very interesting. It has actually pretty interesting characters. It's very difficult. But the rule book is terrible for it. It's a terrible rule book, but great game regardless.
I've never played this game before.
It's a pretty fun one. It also kind of pales in comparison to the others because it is such a small box and it's all meeples. I do kind of like that grandiose table feel as well.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, you'll have to teach me this one because I've only played a handful of the Tiny Epic games, but the ones that I have played I've kind of liked.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so my first couple here at the bottom of my list are a little gimmicky in terms of dungeon crawler. So when I say these next couple, don't tune out like, oh, these guys don't know what dungeon crawlers are. That's not going to be the case for the whole list, but these top 2 are ones that are definitely dungeon crawlers, but they're not like serious. They don't take themselves seriously. So my number 10 is Catacombs. It's the flicking one.
Oh, I've actually never played that.
Dude, it's so much fun. All right, so you have, it's a one versus all, and every person is going to play a different character. So like one character is a barbarian, and when you flick across the map, he has like an ability that you can like, he has different cards or different abilities for the different characters. You can like flip it over, and he goes into a rush where you get to flick like 3 times, like across the board multiple times to hit multiple enemies. It's super simple. When you flick and hit something, it does damage. The archer has like a tiny, so like you have discs like this big that are your characters. The archer has a tiny disc that you put next to it and you flick that instead of flicking it itself because it's shooting arrows at the stuff.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty sick. And then, so the premise of the game is you go through like 4 dungeons and it gets progressively more difficult, but in between the dungeons, you can like buy equipment or buy level ups or whatever. And then you do the final boss. And if you get through all the dungeons, then you win the game. But someone else is playing the baddies, so he's going to be flicking for every single one of the bad guys in the room. It's really cool.
That actually sounds fun. To be honest, to me, that fits the genre and the mechanic of what we were going for with Dungeon Crawl in the first place.
Oh, it's
I never
definitely
played
a
it,
dungeon
but
crawler. It's just not like a serious
traditional
one.
style, yeah, of board game that you would think we'd put in the list.
Yeah.
I never really play very many dexterity games, so that's why it's not really been up there for me.
That was my number 10, Catacombs.
All right, so on to my number 9. This might be a crossover depending on if you decided this was one, but Cthulhu Death May Die.
This is definitely a dungeon crawler.
Yeah. So at first I wasn't sure if I would consider this a dungeon crawler because it's more scenario based and therefore, you're just doing the one scenario mixed with the one boss. But in essence, like you're moving around the board, you're exploring stuff, you're figuring out what's going on in terms of that scenario, and then you're trying to beat the boss. So in my mind, that then expands it out to a dungeon crawler. I wouldn't have originally thought that because for me, more so it's usually the fantasy trope. But again, like I said, I had to broaden my horizons and it does fit for that. And I think it's very interesting because all the characters are super different. It has that system where you're actually gaining madness and therefore gaining powers, which is, with all Arkham Horror Cthulhu-based things, that's going to be a thing. And this one's just very, very fun. So,
I love how unique all the characters are. And then, like, when you gain madness, it's bad for you, but it's also good for you.
Yeah.
And there's so much about this game to really like. And the plug-and-play system is super...
Yes, and I love that
awesome.
plug-and-play system where you can mix a boss with a scenario and it's completely different just because the boss brings something to it and the scenario brings something to it.
Yep.
And then combined, it's a different experience for each one.
Yeah, totally. I definitely think this is an dungeon crawler. I think it's an awesome game. We've made 2 videos on the channel for this, so playthrough and review, so definitely check those out if you haven't already. All right, my number 9. Another kind of not too serious dungeon crawler. But it definitely is one. It's called Heroes of Barcadia.
I remember you talking about this.
This is a drinking game where everybody has a different glass with their character on it. And the characters have different abilities, like simple abilities. But there's lines around the glass that are your HP. So when you take a damage, you have to drink to the next level of HP. And it's just a drinking game. But it's actually a good game because like you are discovering, like there's a bunch of tiles throughout the whole dungeon. You go to the next one, you reveal it. If it's a monster, you have to roll a d20 to fight it. And you get buffs. And then when you defeat it, you get loot cards or you get power-ups. And once you have 3 power-ups, you have to find the drink horde. And you have to defeat the drink horde guardian. And then once you have gotten the drink horde, you win the game. When you die, once you deplete your HP, you fill your cup back up. You start in the middle and you gotta go again. You can attack other people if they're in the room that you want to get into. It's very, very fun.
Semi-cooperative, more so?
No, it's not semi-cooperative at all.
But, it's completely competitive?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You can attack other players.
Kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want you to be more drunk, so it's going to attack you.
Exactly. That's the whole premise. It's a fantastic game, and it feels like a dungeon crawl. Like, this could be a game that isn't drinking, and you could just have a little miniature there, and you could play, and it would still be fun, I think. But the fact that it is a drinking game makes it even more fun.
Just expands it.
Yeah.
I gotcha. All right, so for my number 8, this one I still kind of struggle with being a dungeon crawl, actually. It's Kinfire Chronicles. I don't know if this is a dungeon crawl so much more as an adventure game, but I still think it kind of fits into that same vein and style. You're still kind of doing scenarios, you're moving through a campaign, but a lot of the battles kind of have the feel of what a dungeon crawl would generally be for me, which is like being on a board, moving pieces around and trying to tactically fight hordes of enemies or bosses and using abilities and leveling up your characters as you go.
Okay.
And I've only played it a couple times. We played it to learn it, and we played it a couple times on the channel here. And I found it interesting. I found it really interesting. I found it pretty good. I would like to revisit it at some point in time, but it does fall a little lower on my list.
Yeah, I don't. This is a great game. I don't know if I personally consider this a dungeon crawler. It feels more like a boss battler to me.
Yeah, maybe, but we've only played like a couple of the scenarios. We played like 2 scenarios, I think.
Yeah.
And
3.
who knows to see if, to say if like more than there's more fighting through enemies and stuff, like we don't know.
Yeah,
we need to get back and revisit it.
Based on what I have played, it feels more like a boss battler, but I don't know. I mean, it's whatever you want it to be. My number 8 is, you might not think this is a dungeon crawler, but it feels more like a dungeon crawler than Kinfire does to me. Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. or Betrayal House on the Hill, or Betrayal Legacy. I chose Baldur's Gate because it's a Dungeons and Dragons theme, so it feels more dungeon crawlery. It's basically the same game as the other one.
Yeah, I just like Betrayal, so. But yes, I could see it as being more of a dungeon crawl type game. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've played a lot of the different haunts, and like a lot of the haunts spawn baddies, and you're going through the place discovering tiles and fighting baddies or fighting the traitor and all that kind of stuff. So it feels like a dungeon crawl.
It's also got that level of discovery as you're exploring through the house.
And you're getting loot, and you're having events happen.
Yeah.
All kinds of crazy.
And you don't know what's going on, particularly until it actually happens. So, yeah, I mean, I would put it in the vein of a dungeon crawler. It's not one I particularly like, but I would definitely put it in the vein of a dungeon crawler. The only reason Kinfire for me actually hits up there is because of this a little more like leveling up and stuff like that, and I think that kind of leans into that for me, I suppose.
There's definitely leveling up in this. You gain stats as you go through the scenarios and stuff.
Is that too? Yeah, no, I still say Betrayal is definitely dungeon crawler.
This is one of the first games that I played when I got into the hobby. It was like, I don't know, over 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And when I saw what this game could do, like the experience that it did, I was like, dude, this is sick. This is awesome.
I had the same feeling until I played it a couple times. And then I was just like, this is
Some of them are broken and stuff. And like,
yeah. Well, to me, I guess it was more so the length mixed with, you get some of those haunts that are just kind of ridiculous. And
really
it's like, what was the point of this? Well, no, it's just like so overwhelming to one side. It's like, this turned from, an interesting game that potentially has a villain to just either we're getting stomped or the other side is getting stomped. It was like, okay. So I kind of lost interest for me once I started seeing that too often.
That's fair. That was my number 8, Betrayal House on the Hill or Baldur's Gate or Legacy or whatever you want it.
Number 7 for me is going to be Massive Darkness 2. I've only gotten a chance to play this game a couple times, but it's so much fun. It's so interesting because every single class you play as has its own different little mini game. So it's like an asymmetrical cooperative dungeon crawl game. And it has an interesting system of going into the dungeons and you're fighting like minions and you have like mini bosses and you have bosses. It's got a whole campaign to it. It's got different scenarios. You can play them as scenario based or you can play them as campaign based. Because it's kind of got that like zombie side kind of feel to it where it's like different scenarios, but it's made into a dungeon crawl style with all these different classes. So like you have a monk who has like this thing where he deals with chakra cards. You have like a barbarian or a berserker who deals with like his whole berserking rage and stuff like that. And it's just interesting to see all these different mini games come together in one game. Plus I like asymmetry, so that also scratches the itch for me. Plus it's interesting, it has an interesting style of mixing these and mashing these all together to make it into one game, which I really enjoy.
I heard that this one is like way different, way better than the first one.
I've never actually played the first one, so I have no idea. But I have heard the first one is terrible in comparison.
Yeah, and then this one is like way better.
Yeah.
I'll have to try it. I haven't played that one either. All right, Massive Darkness. My number 7 is Nemesis. This is an Alien-style game. Also scenario-based. It's not a campaign-style game, but I think scenario-based games can be dungeon crawly as well. I mean, like Zombicide is that way. This game is ridiculous. It is super cinematic. If you like Alien, and I am a huge fan of the Alien series, honestly, I think this would benefit highly from it just being an Alien game. Like, I would love this to just be an Alien game and not be a ripoff of the IP.
Of the IP, yeah.
But you can kind of just like pretend it is because they look exactly like the aliens and like there's androids in it and all that kind of stuff. So I think this game is super fun. The first time I ever played this, me and my, because everybody is kind of on their own and also not based on what objectives you have. And then me and my friend, what we ended up doing to be able to win was the alien was coming, and then we closed the door and went and locked it, and the other person was on the other side of the door, got killed by the alien, and we both hopped into the escape pod and got out. We were like,
that's just funny.
See ya.
Games like Nemesis are so interesting to me because I've only played it once. And it's just so interesting because it's more of like a cinematic experience. Like if you ask anybody, oh, how is Nemesis as a game? They'd just be like, okay. But the experience it gives you at the table is so fun.
Yeah.
It's so enjoyable. Like the one time I played, I actually only played it 3 players, but it was, to be honest, mine wasn't as exciting because it was only 3 players, I think,
Yeah.
and just
I feel like you need to play with 4 or 5.
yeah, it didn't. It was okay, but I could definitely see where it would be a lot of fun when you play with like a larger player count, or like 4 at least, and have those little experiences. And that's every time I hear about Nemesis, that's what I hear. I hear like a cinematic tale of what happened and how everyone messed with each other and what went down on the ship, which makes
And
it
it's
interesting to
like the
me.
generators go on and offline, and the baddie might be intentionally sabotaging, like
Yeah.
the trader kind of. It's so interesting.
Stationfall also gives me that kind of same feel too. Just like it becomes like a game of interesting stories that happen
Yeah.
in that particular session.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's my number 7, Nemesis.
All right, for my number 6, I don't know if this will end up on your list, but Arkham Horror, the card game. I love Arkham Horror, the card game.
Okay.
I think it's very interesting. I think it fits the dungeon crawler style because realistically, it's a card game built to have you go through an actual area. You go through areas, you go to locations, you connect those locations close off, story elements happen, bosses pop out, enemies pop out, they attack you, you run away from them, etc., so on and so forth. My only gripe with Arkham Horror, and this is entirely on me, is that I'm the kind of person who likes to build my own deck for these games, and I just have more fun playing a deck I personally built, and I just don't feel confident in building a deck for this game.
Yeah.
Every single time I try and build a deck, I'm just like, I don't know if I have all the right stuff I need. I don't know how I should possibly build a good deck for this.
Right.
And so I just don't actually play it very often because I haven't delved deep enough to actually get to that point yet.
No, this game is awesome. I didn't think of this as something that I would put on a dungeon crawler game list. I think it fits. It would be on mine if I had thought of it, probably, if we consider it a dungeon crawler game. I mean, it feels like one, kind of.
Mm-hmm. I think it totally feels like one because you level up too as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think my other biggest gripe about it though is that bag. You all know what I'm talking about. That one chip that you can pull out and just fail automatically on anything.
Auto fail, baby.
It's I understand it's 100% thematic and some people love it. Sometimes I just hate it.
Yeah.
You do all this planning, you do all this stuff. You're like, oh, I should have a good chance. Auto fail.
Yeah, no, this is a fantastic game, and this is another kind of cinematic game. The story is so well written, the way it goes through and the things that you can do, rescuing people or choosing not to rescue them and all that kind of stuff. Like the freaking train scenario where you're hopping from train to train, but you don't realize until they start falling off. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I could die if I don't keep going. Like, that's
did
so
die.
cinematic. It's such a cool thing. Yeah, great pick. I didn't think about it. It'd probably be on mine. All right, my number 6, Zombicide Black Plague. We've mentioned Zombicide like 10 times this video already.
So hilarious about your choice before you go into it. That was going to be an honorable mention on mine
Interesting.
because I do feel like it feels like a dungeon crawler while at the same time not necessarily feeling like a dungeon crawler.
No, this 100% is a dungeon crawler. There's no way this isn't. This is all about going and kicking down the door and running around and killing bad guys and gaining experience as you do it and leveling up
Yeah,
and
I get,
choosing new abilities.
yeah, I can see it. It
And
was
it
definitely
has
going to be an honorable
story.
mention for me. Yeah.
As you play through it's not necessarily a campaign, but if you do play the scenarios in order, there is a story from scenario 1 to the last scenario.
That's true.
So I definitely this is to me this is like,
And you know I have White Death, right? We got to play it.
I know, and I gave you my Black Plague.
We got to play it all together. I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too.
I played through all of the scenarios in Black Plague more than once, and then I don't have any expansions, so I felt like I was done with the game. But I still think it's fantastic. Like, if I gave it to you, if you ever wanted to play, I'd be like, yeah, I'm down to play, because it's such a fun game. I do think it's great.
Yep.
So that was my number 6, Zombicide Black Plague.
All right. My number 5 is going to be, same vein, Mansions of Madness. So I really like Mansions of Madness. I will admit the first time I played it, I think it was a problem of the game going far too long that I started to feel like I saw the same messages continuously because I played 2nd edition, which is uses the app. And with the app, every time you attack, then you get different options and stuff based on your items and things like that. And our session had just gone so long that I kept seeing the same things. I started getting tired of seeing the same things. But I will say this game is amazing. It's very interesting, very thematic. It's super cool using the app. It's one of the few games that I actually really like using an app for.
Yep.
And it's just a fantastic experience.
It's definitely enhanced by the app for sure. Like if you have an iPad to pass around and set on the table and stuff, like it's way better. An interesting, I used to own this game, and the first time I ever played this was one of the coolest experiences, kind of Nemesis style, that I had playing. And at the very last second, we were like at the exit of the first, I think it was the first scenario. We were at the exit. We had to escape the mansion. If we did, we win. My friend took enough mental trauma or whatever they call it in that game that he had to draw one of those cards, and it said, "You win the game if all the other players die." And now at the end of his turn, he drew that, and then it was our turns, and we both escaped, and he just lost.
I love that card. It's such a funny card. I think that same card exists in Elder Torah too.
I didn't even know that was a thing, like because it was my first time playing. He was like, "Oh well, I lose." I was like, "Dang, dude, I'm sorry, bro." That was really cool.
That same card exists in Elder Torah, and it's always funny whenever it comes up because the person's just like, "Oh well, you know." They just put it down. No one knows what's going on. Come to find out at the end of the game, it's like, haha.
Yeah. My issue with the game is the next two scenarios I played felt super tedious and long and not that interesting.
Yeah, that's how my first game felt.
And that's when I gave it away.
Yeah, that's how my first game felt, and it almost turned me off of it. But I played it again after that, and it felt better. So I guess maybe you can it just depends on how your group goes and how the game goes.
I would try it again because I did think that the system was great. All right, my number 5, Vast the Crystal Caverns.
I have not played this. I've been wanting to play this game.
Very cool leader game, and I have it painted. The whole thing. I have the because the base game doesn't come with the miniatures, and then the miniatures are super high quality, and they're all painted really nice. I didn't paint them myself.
I think I remember this.
Nick painted them.
Yeah, I remember Nick painting it for you.
This game's super cool. So if you play with 5 players, you can play with 4. I think it's perfectly good. I don't know if I would play less than 4, but you can play 5 where one player plays as the cave. And then the cave wins if you are able to collapse and kill everybody. But there's a dragon. The dragon is slumbering. He's getting pissed off by all these goblins. The way the dragon wins is he wakes up from his slumber and then escapes the cave. The knight wins if it kills the dragon. The goblins win if they kill the knight, I think. And then there's a thief, and the thief has like a weird win condition where it wants to get a bunch of loot and then leave. Everybody plays completely different. It's kind of like playing Too Many Bones last night, where you gave me the sheet, you're like, here, read this. That's how it is for Vast. Like you give the person their sheet to read how their faction plays, and then you start playing.
Yeah, I've always wanted to try this game because it just sounded super interesting to me, particularly that someone could play as the cave and just collapse and kill everybody. Like, that's hilarious to me, to be honest. It's just been a game that's been on my wish list to play, bucket list.
I feel like this game has gotten lost, forgotten about, because it was super hyped when it came out, and now it's like nobody talks about Vast. I think it's a great game, especially dungeon crawler feel. So that's my number 5, Vast.
All right. So my number 4 is going to be where we're getting more into my traditional style of dungeon crawls, Sword and Sorcery.
Okay.
I
haven't played this.
It's very good. I ended up giving it away because I realized that I was never really going to get through it, just because I had some other dungeon crawlers, which are higher still on this list, that I would prefer to play over it. But Sword and Sorcery is an amazing game. It's one of the first games I found was super interesting, because one of my biggest complaints about some dungeon crawlers is that they're a little too boring in how the creatures move. And Sword and Sorcery was one of the first ones where I saw with the behavioral cards. So it's like you would actually give these cards out to the other players so that they're spread out among everybody at the table, so not one person is just running everything. And they run through the list when the creature goes, and it depends on what's happening on the board, what the creature's next to, what they want to target, and it determines how they actually behave on the board. So yes, they still have rules, but they're all different, and it could change based on the actual situation on the board, which makes it just super interesting to play and gives more flavor to the enemies rather than oh, they move to the next closest person and attacks them, or the strongest person, aka the person with the most HP, and attacks them, et cetera, so on and so forth. And also leveling up your characters was very interesting as well, because you get gear, you get skills. It has all the tropes of, like a generic fantasy dungeon crawl, but mixed in with the behavior of those creatures and the cool scenarios just made it a really fantastic experience.
Okay, yeah, I know this game. I have never played it or really looked into it, so I'll take your word for it. Number 4 for me. This is our first and probably only crossover. I don't think we're gonna have any. Well, unless you put Black Plague, but I don't think you did. Cthulhu Death May Die. This is my number 4. This is we talked about it already. This is a really cool Cthulhu game where you have super unique characters you're playing as. They have these giant player boards, and you have tech tree or skill tree. So every time you play your character, you can do something different if you wanted to. Yeah, plug and play, awesome. I don't know. I just really like this. By the end of the scenario, you're rolling like chunks of dice, and they're bursting all over the place. It's just, it's cool.
Good game.
Love it.
Very good game. All right, so for my number 3, it's going to be one of the classics, Descent, Journeys in the Dark. 2nd edition specifically. I do like 1st edition a lot as well, but I did luck finding that, and that's ridiculous to find. But 2nd edition I love. A lot of people like the 2nd edition playing with the app. I actually do not. It's one of those ones that's actually very boring. I was going to
ask if you played with the app or not.
No, it's very boring with the app. I think
it came out way after the game came out.
Yes, it did, because this is one of those games that runs with someone playing the Overlord.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because it's a game designed where you're not supposed to actually have like a Dungeon Master. Dungeon Master actually is an Overlord trying to win as well.
Right.
And so
one versus all.
Exactly. You have the party of heroes. You have the Dungeon Master controlling his minions. And it does have a slight problem of one side always feels like the other side is stronger, but you have to understand that the other side feels that way as well.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because I love the way you level up the characters. They're very simple. They have a couple of skills. The skills are level based, and then they have a certain amount of experience they cost. It has a whole fatigue system, which I think is just fantastic. I think it's a system that's really underutilized. Just being able to spend the fatigue to move extra, or use the fatigue also to do other abilities. That little extra universal resource that is used for multiple things, but then once it's filled up, kind of limits you, is a very interesting style. And then also on top of that, the Overlord themselves has a whole mechanic of leveling up and choosing different paths. So the more expansions you get, the more different paths the Overlord can take in terms of how the style of their play and how they work. So it's just very interesting, and I really love the back and forth of that game.
Never played that one either. That's what I'm talking about. You got all these dungeon crawlers I've never played before. And we still haven't heard like 2 or 3 of them that I know got to be on that list.
Yep.
All right, number 3. This definitely ain't gonna be on your list because I don't think you like this game very much. Clank.
It's okay.
This is one of my favorite deck builders. I don't know why, just something about the way this game plays. It kind of, one of the most popular deck builders right now is the Quest for El Dorado. It kind of marries that with also an actual game that's not just a race. Like, you're going through, you're fighting monsters if you want to, you're generating resources to buy more cards, like typical games, but you're also like collecting loot and just running around and doing whatever you want. I don't know. I like this game so much. We're in the middle of Clank Legacy right now, and I'm really enjoying that. So I'm going to look forward to playing Clank Legacy 2 once we finish Clank Legacy. This game is fantastic. If you like deck building, if you like Quest for El Dorado, you would like this, I think, because it's very similar in what it's doing, except it's not just like a bland race game.
I actually like Race for El Dorado. I've only played it once, though. And when I played it, I was like, I'm surprised I never played this game before. It's really good. But Clank, it's weird that I don't like Clank more than I do. I don't dislike it, but I don't love it. So I like it well enough. And it's weird because I really like deck builders. And then obviously I really like dungeon crawlers. So you would think it'd be something that's like right in my wheelhouse. I don't know. Like, I enjoy it well enough, but I don't know. There's something holds it back a little bit for me, and I couldn't really explain what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't own Space or Catacombs. I really want to play Catacombs. times. I haven't played it. I've played Space a couple times, and I still prefer the first one over Space. But I also have like all of the expansions for the regular Clank, so there's that.
I've heard the Space one's very good, but
It's cool. It's cool. All right,
All
that's
right.
my number 3.
Number 2, one you have definitely not played, but I said you should. Chronicles of Drunagor.
There it is. And then I know what your number 1 is.
Of course you do. So Chronicles of Drunagor, the reason why it shot so far up my list, to be honest, I've played it a good amount, a decent amount, and at first I thought it was a game that was all about the gimmick of the 3D pieces, because it uses I think it uses game trays, I'm not sure, but they're plastic pieces, and then it uses little pieces for the map to build out your map, and you can also slot these into the plastic pieces to get elevation. So you'll have like tier 0 elevation, tier 1 elevation, and tier 2 elevation. So I really thought the game was just a full gimmick of that, but honestly, it's such a fun game. The cycle of this game, because it's a game that uses a cube action system, and the color of the cubes actually determine the type of attack you're doing. So it has a really D&D feel, because you have all these stats, you have these abilities that do things, but depending on which cube you use for that thing determines its range and it basically just determines its range. So if say you use one ability that can use all 4 of the cube types, if you use the color that's melee, it's a melee attack. If you use the color that's range, it's a range attack. If you use one of the other 2 colors, it's an infinity range. It has no real range on it. So that gives it kind of the flavoring of, oh, you're doing this thing, but what kind of attack that is really in your imagination, because it's depending on the cube you use, the cube color you use, on what its range is. So it could be, oh, this could be like a cleave of your sword, or it could actually be you're just throwing a dagger at something. You're still doing the same effect, but it has a thematic feel of you're doing something different. It also has a really cool range system where you have a 2x2 section, and it's outlined in blue, and that determines how far your range is, because if you have range 1, it shoots from one blue section to the next blue section, and diagonals do count as well, which I think is a really interesting range system. On top of that, it has a really cool story that you're going through, but that's probably one of the only gripes, is that you kind of play through the story, and it's got this system of exploration, which also has a bad point of slowing down in the middle of the game, because as you're exploring, you'll open these doors, and they're actual cards that you flip open, and they tell you how to build out more of the dungeon. So as you're going through, you're building it out and actually exploring.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
I like when they're able to do that. All right. Chronicles of Drunagor. My number 2 is a game that's not going to be on your list.
I think we've established that.
Gloomhaven.
Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Again, it's funny. That was my honorable mention.
Okay. I know you've played it a lot.
I had 2 honorable mentions. You named both of them.
Nice. Yeah, Gloomhaven is fantastic. I'm sure you've heard so much about this game because it's like one of the most popular games of all time at this point.
Extremely polarizing games of all time.
Extremely polarizing. There's an app now that also has Jaws of the Lion in it. I do really like Jaws of the Lion. I think that iteration of the game is super easy to get into, and really kind of packages it down into a more condensed version of the game that is easier to just like get to the table and play. I like having the maps too, so you don't have to build the thing out. It's a way smaller package, so like you don't have to hug this giant freaking box around. Obviously it's much smaller, but I like both versions. I still have both. I haven't played the big box version in a long time, but I got through, I know, at least like 10 or 15 scenarios of the big version. And then I started playing the app, and the app is pretty good. I don't think I prefer it. A lot of people say, they're like, oh, I only play it on the app now. I don't think I prefer the app version over playing the physical version. I think the physical version is definitely better. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of content out there you can look up about Gloomhaven. It's a great little dungeon crawler game.
Another little thing I wanted to say about Gloomhaven, which I was going to offer into the honorable mentions, which now I don't have to do because you named both of the games, I've already said it. But this one it's very interesting. I love Gloomhaven. It used to be like up there for me, but I started to realize too that one of the things I like the most about Gloomhaven is the revelation of new things. And one of the things I missed from Gloomhaven was a decent story. Like I didn't feel like I knew anything of the story on Gloomhaven whatsoever when I started playing it. And I played through several scenarios, and I was just like, I don't really care. I just want to get to this next interesting encounter and see how this puzzle works out. And I will say it was fantastically balanced, because every single scenario, it's either a hair from death or a hair from winning. And you're just like, wow, like that's just amazing that they managed to do this. And it felt like that for every single encounter.
Yeah.
The reason why it's dropped so low for me is because for me the most interesting thing was seeing the new character classes and seeing and playing them. And so when I got stuck playing a certain character class and couldn't retire for a while, I started to get actually bored. And then also each scenario being like 2 hours, and then if you lose, it's like, oh, you got to play it again. Of course you could push on, but then I would always end up playing it again.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Frost Haven, I hear, is a better version because one, it addresses being able to retire characters faster, so you can see more characters more quickly. And then there's like base building in it instead of like how the city section of the game acts between scenarios. You also are doing base building while you're doing in the city, so it like adds a lot more to that kind of aspect of the game. And then I don't know if the story's better, but
I actually had Frosthaven backed, so I knew about the whole, base building and stuff. And I actually backed out of it because that was around the time when I realized I'm never going to play through Gloomhaven. I'm probably never going to play through Frosthaven.
I do agree with the having to repeat scenarios is not fun.
Yeah, especially when you're spending 2 hours on them or so, and it's just like, whoa, this is rough. But, yeah.
All right, your number
my
one.
Number one, you knew this was coming, but Midara, Unintentional Malum. I love crunchy games, and this game is right up there in terms of crunchiness, but I don't think it's so crunchy that it's too overwhelming. I guess it could be too overwhelming depending on, what you like and what you prefer. So I guess you could describe it as overwhelming, but I think some games are definitely far more overwhelming than this. Some I haven't played that I've heard of anyway. This one has rules for all kinds of crazy stuff, but I love the way this game plays. The story in it is super interesting as well, and it comes with a book like this thick just for Act 1, and there's Act 2 and 3 coming like next year. It's going to be crazy. But this game is fantastic. It makes it feel exactly like a JRPG, which I've been a fan of. I grew up with them, and I always love those types of games. And this has that exact same feel. And on top of that, you get to build your characters as you please. So it's like you have these different characters, and they have kind of like a little special ability of their own. But for the most part, you're building them how you want because there's 5 classes you can choose from, and you just gain skills and you spend experience for them, and you can mix and match these classes together to build a character as you please. And there's actually builds out there and all the stuff people put online. But fantastic game, and it's another game that uses the behavioral system for creatures. So it makes each creature very unique and different in how you're playing against them. Plus, it's difficult.
Nice.
Very difficult.
Nice. Yep. All right. Well, that is Midara. I've never played that one either. I knew Chronicles of Drudagor and Midara were going to be on your list. Descent you mentioned yesterday. And I said earlier that I had never played Descent. That's actually a lie. I played Descent 3rd edition.
You played
I did
Imperial
not
Assault.
like it. I played Imperial Assault once.
I haven't played Descent 3rd edition. I don't think I would like it.
It was bad.
I think it would feel more like a video game for me, and I want it to be a board game.
I really didn't like it. And it reminded me of that because you're talking about Chronicles of Drudagor with the tiers, and Descent has ridiculous
Well, they
components
actually say that's not 3rd edition either. It's Legends of the Dark. It's supposed to be a different series because it doesn't follow the same formula. 3rd edition really would be Imperial Assault, Star Wars.
Yeah. I've played Imperial Assault once. It's not on my list because I don't feel like I knew it really, even though I've played it once. My number one should be no surprise if you watch our top 10 list of
I know what it is.
all time. What is it?
The Others.
Duh. Had to be my number one. It's the same system as Cthulhu with Death May Die, even the plug and play system and everything. The difference is it's one versus all, which I actually think I like more. It feels more like a game than just a straight co-op game.
I agree.
And then some of the stuff is you gain the the madness, not madness, but it's corruption, and you get more powerful, the same as Death May Die. But your characters can die in this game, and you have a pool of 8 characters. And once you run out of characters, that's when you lose the game, not when your character dies, which I think is an interesting concept. It's the same thing as you said with Descent, where one side feels more powerful than the other, but then the other person's also thinking that. The very cool, unique thing to this game is every scenario has a big scenario sheet, and as the good guys, once you complete an objective, you get to choose on a branching path of what you want your next objective to be, and then what your next objective be, and then what your final objective is.
That's actually similar to Descent 2nd Edition. Whoever wins the encounter gets to choose the next encounter, and it gives a level of credence to having experienced the game, because some encounters actually are a little bit more biased to one side than the other. So if you know that and you win the encounter, you could like steer it to you trying to win another one.
Interesting. Yeah, so that is The Others. It's fantastic. It's literally my favorite game of all time, and I don't get to play it enough. So
I would say that about every single one on this list for me.
let me see. I've played a decent amount of these, like often, but yeah, at least half of them I don't get to play enough.
So of everything on my list, I don't own Sword and Sorcery or Kinfire Chronicles. Everything else, or Cthulhu Death May Die. I own everything else and don't get to play them nearly enough.
Yeah. I did have some honorable mentions. One is a question to you. Do you think Wildlands is a dungeon crawler?
You mean the Martin Wallace Wildlands? No.
Why
Absolutely
do you think it's not a dungeon crawler?
I feel like it's just a head-to-head versus arena game, really.
Like you're like running through a dungeon collecting loot and killing people.
You're not running through a dungeon collecting loot and killing people. You're fighting against other players trying to kill their units to gain points and picking
up loot, which is points.
I guess, but I don't know. I can't really lend it to that one. It's too much. It's too much
fair.
more of a head-to-head game to me than it is any kind of dungeon crawling. There's
fair.
no level of exploration. There's just running around attacking each other, and I like it. I enjoy it. I like it because of the speedy nature, but I just don't feel like it's dungeon crawler essence.
The other two are like the same game, but two different themes. Conan and Level 7 Omega Protocol both use like the river system.
It's funny because one of the things I did to look up some games in case I missed anything was I looked up dungeon crawls on BGG, and Gotham City Chronicles came up, which is like the same system as Conan. And I thought about both of those, and I was like, those are great games.
You didn't like Conan, from what I remember.
No, I like Conan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we played the Conan only once, though. It was like with a group of us. I think it was me, your dad, Nick, and someone else. I enjoyed that. I played a crappy character. That was the problem. But it was a fun game.
Yeah, and Level 7 Omega Protocol is super similar, except you're fighting against aliens, but it's a one versus all that like gets more powerful as you spend your adrenaline. Like the aliens feed off of your adrenaline, so you get more powerful. It's that same kind of concept.
I think why these didn't show up as honorable mentions for me either is because I've played Gotham City Chronicles a couple of times. I have a friend who has all of it, but we just haven't gotten to the table because it's a weird player count. It's like 3 generally. Generally a 3-player game, like 2 players versus the 1. I think it goes up to 4. I'm not even 100% certain. I think it's literally more so generally a 3-player game. And so because of that, usually when something like that comes out, there's 4 people. And it's just like, it just doesn't really work. But I also think they're more scenario based than they are like dungeon crawly based, I guess. I don't really see them as dungeon crawls so much as more scenario one versus all.
I'm surprised that you didn't have Zombicide on your list.
Zombicide was a strong honorable mention only because I like the other games more though.
Yeah.
Generally.
And then the one other thing is Kinfire feels so much like Too Many Bones, and you didn't include Too Many Bones on your list, but you included Kinfire. And
so Kinfire was a weird one for me in general, I think. I don't know if I threw it on there just because, or if I threw it on there because
it's a fantastic game, don't get me wrong.
I do agree with you. It is kind of like on the borderline. Like, if anything, maybe that should drop off and Zombicide should be up there on mine, but Too Many Bones definitely just feels like a tactical RPG than it does a dungeon crawl for me, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's purely tactical, which is kind of like Madaro, but Madaro does have that dungeon crawl essence because you do build out the board, too, as you're going as well. Yeah. And it's got that epic story.
It's cool we had very different lists.
I agree.
So people get to see some contrast there.
Yeah, but we also established that I play a lot more co-op games than you do.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, that is it. Our top 10 dungeon crawlers. Let us know your top 10 in the comments. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. As always, we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
It also has a really cool range system, I think, with uses.
Jeez.